Hey folks, my home city of Durban has been experiencing water troubles for almost a year now, and they've been quite severe. Earlier in 2022, we had freak flooding, which damaged a lot of the infrastructure and left residents without water for extended periods of time. Where I live, outside the city itself, we were quite lucky because when the floods hit, we were only without water for about 2 weeks. But several communities in the greater Durban area have been without water for months. Last night, the mayor of Durban appeared in an interview with ENCA, so I thought I'd cover this and see what he had to say. Let's get started.
Let's move now to KwaZulu-Natal. The eThekwini municipality has been grappling with water supply and water contamination problems for months now. Beaches have at times been closed due to high levels of E. coli, rivers overflowing with sewage, and of course the April floods wiped out key infrastructure that left many homes without water for months. But it seems some progress is being made, getting running water back to Tongaat. They've been without running water for nearly 7 months. The municipality of eThekwini also saying it's begun repairs at the Ohlange sewage pump station, which is responsible for the contamination of Mhlanga Beach. Let's speak now to the mayor of eThekwini, Mayor Mxolisi Kaunda. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. It's much appreciated. So let's start with some good news. The residents of Tongaat, hopefully they'll get running water soon. Why has it taken so long?
Yeah, firstly, thank you very much for having us in your program. And it is really a sense of great excitement that today we were able to complete the work that we started since the floods affected severely the plant which is located in Tongaat. And there were severe damages in that plant. It was washed away. But we are happy to report to people of Tongaat today that the plant has been completed. We started to commissioning the plant so that we start supplying water. We decided to prioritize people of Hambanati in the township because part of the 5 reservoirs that are part and parcel of this plant, which are supplied by this plant, at least some communities have been receiving some water. But Tongaat in Hambanati, that's where the major crisis has been. So therefore, today we started for 8 hours to fill that particular reservoir, and we appeal to the community that as we are still commissioning this plant, it has never been working for quite a long period. So therefore, it necessitates that we need to be certain about the quality of water in the plant. So we request that people, for drinking purposes, they must start by boiling the water that we supply up until we are certain and we give a direction that people can now drink water freely.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're saying basically just a few more days of patience, boil the water in the meantime while we run tests. Why has it taken nearly 7 months?
No, look, if you look at the magnitude of the damage in the plant, it was washed away. We needed to work with Tongaat Hulet because we were unable even to access our plant because the road and the bridge was also washed away. So we had to await for that construction period, but we expedited the process of appointing the company. Some of the delays were informed by the appeals which were put forward by other companies when the appointment was done. So it also added on some delays, but we've been interacting with the Committee of Tongaat to give them the update in terms of our preparedness to fix that plant. And we are happy. This reflects to our capacity and capabilities as the municipality because we anticipated to complete this plant tomorrow, but we completed it today. And we are certain that we'll continue to service our people and restore services to our communities, especially water and sanitation, as we have alluded to the fact that Umhlanga pump station, we are also dealing with that particular.
Yes, so we'll move on to Mhlanga because there's more I want to ask you about the beaches.
It's obvious here that the mayor is trying to sell himself or portray himself in the best possible light, which you would expect from a politician. But one thing I can confirm that he is being honest about is the severity of the damage that was caused by the flooding. Those floods were not what Durban is used to dealing with. It was a freak storm that lasted several days, and the infrastructure in Durban is simply not built to handle that amount of water coming that quickly. And as he said, a bridge in Tongaat was washed away. Tongaat wasn't the only place in Durban that had bridges washed away. And the effect of that was that several communities, several outlying communities, were cut off from what I suppose you'd call the mainland. And for a very long time, it was difficult for people to get supplies and resources because there was no way to reach them.
I want to ask you about Umgeni River in Durban, because that's been an ongoing problem. We've seen dead fish, we've seen sewage, and it seems to happen and then stop and then happen and stop. What actually is the problem, and what is the current status of the Umgeni River?
You know, the floods added the crisis to our aging infrastructure. But besides the factor of being the aging infrastructure that is giving us some trouble now.
Okay, I'm going to stop him right there. You see, he's talking about aging infrastructure. That is one of the ANC's failings, because all throughout the country, not just in Durban, they have sat for years and done nothing, while water and power infrastructure simply fell to ruin. The reason why, for instance, we are having an energy crisis where we can't keep the lights on reliably in South Africa is that the ANC were told 15 years ago that they should be replacing the electrical infrastructure to keep on pace with growth in demand as our population grew. But they haven't done that. And now we're sitting with the consequences where we have rolling load shedding and have for over a decade now. Load shedding actually began when I was still in high school, and I'm now in my 30s. And it's very similar with the water system, not just, as I say, in Durban, but throughout the country.
Now, there is vandalism that is taking place in more than 33 pump stations, which we are operating as a city. We've identified high level of vandalism. People are stealing our valves, our pumps, and people are also interfering with our electricity, which assists us to pump in those stations. But those challenges have been identified, and we are, as a city, hard at work to restore and maintain the infrastructure. Remember that in the previous dispensation, when you talk about spatial development plans that were put there, they were excluding the majority of people of eThekwini. So the municipality had to prioritize the expansion of services to communities who have never enjoyed those services like water, electricity, and sanitation. So that backlog on its own has been a huge backlog, so which then resulted to investing more on capital projects. On the other side, maintenance not to be done as envisaged. But we have resolved those matters. We have also engaged our committees during the budget hearings that will be having some surcharge that will also assist us as a city to have the funding that is directed to the maintenance of our infrastructure.
Yeah, and we also heard today from the finance minister in his mini budget that it does seem they're putting more aside for disaster relief budgets, because this is the reality that we're facing. I'm glad you've acknowledged the aging infrastructure as a problem which preceded the floods, and certainly there has been mismanagement at play. We know that. But I think really the focus now is on what's going to happen this festive season, because Durban needs that money, needs that tourism money. And what we've seen is some of your prime beaches have been closed because of E. coli. Talk to me about the current situation and what the plan is going into the festive season when there's going to be even more pressure on your ailing resources.
Yes, indeed, we have identified all the weaknesses, especially our pump stations, which in majority have been failing in operation. So we've put plans to ensure that we intervene in that regard, especially to invest resources. Remember that since the floods occurred in our city, we've been reprioritizing our budget as a city. It is only last month when we received the first funding from national government, which was 184 million rands. And we're happy today when the minister made a pronouncement to the funding that will be directed to KZN to respond to the challenges of floods. Because these are not our own making, but we understand the magnitude of work that must be done. And it requires more resources, billions of rands, for us to put our infrastructure to where it's supposed to be. But we'll continue to work hard. We've identified all these pump stations, and the pumps that are not working are being fixed. Companies have been appointed to fix those pump stations in the area where we have been having a challenge of communities who have been connecting themselves illegally to our electricity. We have already electrified that community so that we are able to unlock the pressure from that pump station, Joanna Road pump station. So our plans are really afoot to ensure that we respond quickly to the challenges. But visitors that will be coming to KZN, I'm sure you'll recall, we had a joint media briefing with Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We gave assurance that we are working tirelessly, assisted by businesses, even big businesses in our city have been coming on board to assist us with funding to fix some of these challenges. And we are hopeful that our visitors will continue to enjoy their stay in Durban during this festive season, and we are ready to host them. We have already hosted major events. The one that is coming is this weekend, the handover of the certificate to the King of the Zulu Nation, His Majesty, Mrs. Zulu KwaZulu-Natal. So therefore, it shows the strength that we have as a city to continue to host these events. We also won some.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this guy right here because he's obviously taken this opportunity to waffle and boost his own public profile because regional mayors don't often get to appear on national TV, so he's really making a meal of it. Where he talks about big business coming on board to assist him in their projects. The reason that the corporate world takes an active role in social projects and stuff around the city is that in the South African context, business realizes that if they don't do something, it will be years before government gets anything done of any real value. Because, as I've said in previous videos, these people don't actually care about fulfilling the duties that they're elected to fulfill. What they care about is being able to travel in fancy European cars protected by a cavalcade of police officers, and they spend their days going from meeting to meeting, eating food that they didn't pay for. But these issues don't affect them because they don't live in the areas that are denied services or have poor access to services because of failing infrastructure. So what you have is essentially they don't live in the same world as average South Africans do. So that's why this guy can waffle and talk about what a great job they're doing. Because he doesn't suffer having to wait months for something to be repaired.
Some of the big awards in Africa, which are called Africa Destination and Major Events, eThekwini has won that once again, which shows that eThekwini is ready and it is open for business.
Yeah, an absolutely massive event this weekend. All eyes are going to be on that coronation. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Are the beaches open now?
The coronation that they are referring to, by the way, is the coronation of the new king of the Zulu nation, which, although they speak of this as a positive, all this really is a massive waste of taxpayer money, because in South Africa, every tribe, every African tribe, has a royal family, and all those families are partially funded. Their households are funded by the taxpayer of whichever province they happen to be in. In the case of the Zulu royal family, that is the KwaZulu-Natal royal budget. The problem with that is they are of even less value to the people than, say, the King of England is, because they don't actually do anything. I often refer to them as rich beggars, because they claim millions of rand every year in taxpayer money, but they don't provide any service or any real leadership. They just sit in their palaces and kind of give cultural decrees from on high. But let me be clear, the Zulu king is not my king. I owe him no allegiance, nor do I give him or his family any respect.
Is the E. coli problem sorted out? Because when holidaymakers come down, they want to know if they can get into the sea and feel safe in the sea.
Look, there are beaches which are already operating, and there are those that were shut down because we conduct tests. And remember that this thing is not static. So therefore, tomorrow, we may find that the movement of water is now affecting the other beach, or the other beach has been cleared. So we always update our communities in terms of our interventions to arrest that situation. And some of our beaches are already working, and those which are also strategic in nature for our visitors, we are working hard to ensure that we restore our services in those pump stations so that they do not leak to the beach without being monitored, as well as whatever that is being leaked there is also responding to the environmental requirements.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for giving us such comprehensive detail and giving us those reassurances this evening. He believes that Durban is going to be ready for business, certainly for the coronation this weekend, but also going into the very busy festive season. That is the Mayor of eThekwini, Taekwon-Do.
I certainly hope, for the sake of my fellow Durbanites, that the mayor isn't simply blowing smoke, and that the city will be able to cope with the influx of tourists for our Christmas season. This may seem strange to people in the Northern Hemisphere, but December is our summer season, and Durban is known not only in South Africa but worldwide as a famous city of the sea and beaches. So it is really a problem that we do have this issue with sewage, specifically unprocessed sewage, being pumped directly into the ocean. Because if we lose the reputation of being able to provide a safe seaside experience for tourists from the rest of South Africa and around the world, that has a directly negative impact on the city's ability to sustain itself and be a viable destination for people to visit in the future. And we don't need any more bad things happening to us. We've already had quite enough for this year. Thanks very much. I hope this has been informative for you and that you have a good day. For now, farewell.